Good morning, social media. What's going on? Just left the gym. You know, I'm in a really good mood today. It's Wednesday. It's hump day. We are in the middle of the week. You got two. Actually, no, it's not hump day. Today's Thursday. I've gotten paid today. I keep forgetting. So, yeah, I'm in a really good mood today. Did a really good workout and I'm set. But my girlfriend gave me this concept for a video this morning, right? And I'm thinking that I want to take concepts from other people because I can see shit from my perspective, but I don't want to only see things from my perspective. So if you have anything that you want me to talk about, if you're like a person that watches my Snap or, my YouTube religiously, and you just feel like you want me to talk about something as far as relationships or just life related, send it to me. I guess I'll make a video of it, right? But the concept she gave me was 20s versus 30s because I was asking her, right? I'm sitting there talking because I pop videos pop in my head often of just ideas and stuff, and it's cool. But, I want to know what other people think. I'm just someone that, I think, I wouldn't say think, but like I like to know the perspective of someone else for the most part. I don't like to only think from my point of view. So she gave me this concept of like 20s versus 30s and just how it affects life. Cool. I like that idea. Now, I want to attack 20 versus 30s from different points and perspectives. So this could be lengthy, it could be short. Well, it's probably going to be more lengthy than short. I'm just telling motherfuckers ahead of time, if you're not someone that has a long attention span, don't even bother. All right? Don't rack your brain with it. But the first concept, I wouldn't say the first concept, the first point of 20 versus 30s is difficulty as a man, right? Now, when we and her had this conversation, the first thing she said as far as this subject, she was like, I heard it's really hard for men in their 20s. And let me tell you, it is hard as a motherfucker. I would say from 18 to probably 30. Women have it way easier. And what I mean by way easier is when you're younger, right, as a woman, right? I'd say from like maybe 18 to like maybe 26, you are in your prime attractive years, which means you getting the most attention you ever gonna get, or may not get. I'm not a woman, I don't know for sure, but I'm telling you with just my perspective on it, right? 18 to probably 26 is probably your prime physical years, and men are very visual, right? So it's not hard for you to get taken out. It's not hard for you to get, a date. I mean, it's not hard for a woman to get a date in general, but it's not hard for you to really attract nobody. Like, you are in the your stomach's flat, your hair, you are in your prime physical, so everything's flowing the way it's flowing. That shit don't work that way for a man in his early 20s. A dude in his early 20s is literally winging this entire shit. You don't know nothing. You have no type of experience. And then you're going up against motherfuckers that's been living life twice as much as you. Because here's the thing. A woman in her 20s versus a man in her 20s, a woman's getting dated twice as much as a dude in his 20s. A dude has to really try and fail, and keep failing. And like, it's like, okay, it's almost like building a business where it's a bunch of trial and error, but you don't exactly know what you're doing in your early 20s as a guy. You don't know what works, what doesn't, what's wrong, what isn't. I'll give you a good example, right? And I'll never forget this, correct? I was in a strip club one time. I might have been about, maybe 23, 24. And I'll never forget this shit. And 23, 24, I was in the Navy. I was working outside. I did a lot of work with my hands. I was doing a lot of work with anchor chains, painting, stuff like that, right? So I'd get off work. I'd take a shower. Cool. No big deal. I go to the strip club, right? Just as a young man. And this type of shit you be up against, right? You don't know what you don't know until you know. You don't know what you don't know until you don't know it, right? So I'm sitting there at the bar, I'm getting like a margarita or something like that, talking to this girl or whatever. And I'm talking to her. She just looked at my hands. She's like, you don't wash your hands? I was like, what do you mean? Because I work with my hands, I don't think much of, like, put it like this, right? When you're a bosun in the Navy, right? Or you're someone that works with your hands in the Navy, motherfuckers don't really give you time to really barely even sit down. Like, you got to think. Like, you got to go from painting on a ship to washing your motherfucking hands within 35 minutes and then eat and then get back up to work. You know what I mean? A lot of times you don't get a lunch break, depending on how your shit is set up. But anyway, right? She was more so like, she looked at my hands and she was like, she saw the dirt under my fingernails. And she was like, I don't know if I'm feeling that. And she got up and walked off. I never forget that. I'm a 35-year-old man. That happened when I was like 23, 24. I never forgot that experience. And to this day, because of that, I make it a point to check the dirt under my hands, right? You look at it now, you don't hardly see no dirt under my hands. I really try to look out for my hands. I try to wash my hands like a motherfucker. All because of that. You know what I mean? Again, that's the type of shit that happens to you when you're a man trying to date in your 20s, right? You don't know shit. Like, okay, you're going up against women that know more than you, have experienced more than you. You know what I mean? Most guys kind of start like from the back end of the race or whatever when it comes to dating in your 20s as a guy, right? You don't know anything. You're winging shit. Not only that, but women that you're typically dating in your 20s, like, okay, you're a 24-year-old guy trying to date a 24-year-old girl. That 24-year-old is probably attracted to a guy in his early 30s, right? Because experience is one of those things with a man that makes us look better. You know what I mean? So I'm just telling you, as a dude, you don't know shit. You like, okay, you're running around with all this energy. You are just walking up to girls saying the dumbest shit because you don't know nothing, right? And the thing about women is, women show you no kind of mercy as a man in your 20s. Like, you don't know, you don't have no type of game in your 20s. You don't have no walk around sense. You are assed out. And not only that, right? When you're in your early 20s, your testosterone is raging like a motherfucker. So it's like, okay, I would compare it to now, right? Now, sex is one of those things where it's like something I could just, like a soda from the fridge. I can take it or leave it. Like, I'm a much more stable person when it comes to like relating to like in general to women sexually. Like, I don't need it the same way I used to. Like, you know, you like it still, but it's like the hunger for it is not the same. At least that's how I look at it, right? But you know, I'm able to like put my focus on other things like finance, flipping weights, or working to better my future because I'm not as driven on the other end. Like, when I was 25, I needed to talk to a bunch of girls because I just could not control myself. Like, the testosterone would be so nuts that one woman wouldn't be enough. like, okay, right? When I was 25, 24, I needed to talk to 10, 12 motherfuckers. Like, that's what type of shit I was on. And I had the energy to keep up with everybody. I knew who did what. Like, I'm trying to be at everybody's house, everywhere, barely making any money. Like, when I tell you I put a lot of energy into that, like, I put a lot of energy into running behind girls. That's why I'm like so settled now, because I've like everything most motherfuckers do when they're in their 30s and they get a little bit of freedom or they get their finances together, I did in my early 20s. Like, so now I'm like a married old man. Like, for instance, right? Me and my girlfriend had some differences yesterday. We was, going through a thing. We was different, arguing. And I called it upon myself to like think to myself, like, damn, should I just go to the strip club or should I just go to the bar and talk to motherfuckers? And she know what I'm talking about. Like, should I just, like, I was angry about something. So I'm like, okay, let me just go hang out or whatever if I need to hang out, right? But here's the thing. As far as even going out, my mind on that has changed. Going out from your 20s compared to your 30s, it's night and day, right? When I was in my mid-20s, listen, I did so much partying, it's ridiculous. And I mean, anybody from Southeast Georgia that might have been around during the Roscoe Dash era, like around 2009, 2010, around that time, listen, we'd hit one club, leave that club, go to another one, hit that club, and then be done with that club and head to Waffle House, watch motherfuckers fight, and then be still trying to it'd be 5 a.m. and we're still looking for more places to go, right? That's how it used to be as a 25-year-old. I had energy to do dumbass shit. Like, we would party Friday, party Saturday, try to find bullshit to get into Monday. It was the same thing when I lived in Jacksonville. As long as there was shit to do, I was involved. Especially when I was on some woman chase shit. If there was a party, a get together, a strip club somewhere, I was there, right? But in my 30s, I've done so much of it that I'm burnt out from it. I mean, I wouldn't say I dislike it in a sense, but it's like, again, it's the same thing with the sex. I don't feel the need to do it the same way because I've done it to death. Like, not only that, but your focus shifts when you're a man in your 30s, right? Because you care more about your future and getting life together and, what's going to become of what your life is. Like, I'm 35, dog. I don't care to get dry humped by some stripper. It doesn't do anything for me. Now, remember when I said that life is difficult in your 20s as a guy trying to date? You don't know what you're doing. Eventually, you figure it out. Trial and error. One thing about, like, as a guy, if you bang your head against the wall long enough, eventually you get through it. Like, it's just that now in today's age, most guys don't want to go through the ringer or the rings or the hoops they don't want to go through the trial by fire or the trial by error to get to the point where they're actually good with women. Because the thing with being good with women is it's a lot of difficulty to it. It's a lot of work to it. It's a lot of, it's a lot of figuring shit out because women are not men. Like, women for the most part know men just want sex and they can kind of base shit around that for the most part. Long as you're attractive and you the sex is good, you pretty much don't have to be a good person as a chick. Like, and you can get away with a whole lot of shit for a while. It's not the same thing with a guy, right? You don't really start bagging motherfuckers until you start able to use this a little bit more. What I mean by that is you have to be able to talk to women. You have to be able to verbally communicate. You have to be able to know a little nuance. You have to know when she's in the right mood, when she's not in the right mood. All that stuff comes with experience, right? Not only that, but you accumulate more money as you get older as a guy because you're more focused on what you need to be doing versus like, like if you're working at your career long enough, correct? You're working at your career and things are starting to take off. They're starting to shape up. You got your car's better. You got you got a good apartment. You're more stable. That's attractive to women. When you're a guy in your early 20s, chances are you're just bumping it on your apartment. You're from place to. Not only that, right? But as far as experience, women value experience in men. Like, typically speaking, when you're a guy in your 30s, you're going to typically attract younger women. And when I say younger women, I mean like motherfuckers from like 25 to like 30. You know what I mean? You're typically not going to catch nobody that's like in their like early 20s, right? Unless you meet a motherfucker in the early 20s. But like, a lot of women can see the dad in you, if that makes sense. Like, a lot of motherfuckers, when they're younger, they connect to that shit to you when you're older, when you have experience and you have the walk around. That shit is not the same for a dude. Like, when you meet a motherfucker that's overexperienced. Now, a lot of guys have this thing on the internet where they don't like girls to have a high body count. I think y'all are crazy for that. You want your girl to have experience and have done shit. But I digress, right? I think guys don't like when girls tell them about the experience. Like, most men can't handle women that have lived their life in the sense of like being open or having done stuff like, been involved in car sex and, all this other stuff, right? But you want a woman that has experience. You want your woman to have a little bit of walk around sense. You know what I mean? But I'm just saying, as a guy in his 30s, right? You are going to typically attract motherfuckers that come to you for your experience. Because by the time you get to your 30s and your mid 30s, you've accumulated all. Now, as far as work ethic goes, I guess is another place that I want to talk about, right? When I was in my early 20s, I had solid work ethic, but I had more energy, I guess, if that makes sense. Like, when I was 25, right, I could crank a 14-hour shift, go out to the strip club, come back, sleep 2 hours, and get back up and do it again. And I would do that 5 days a week, right? I just had wind for dumb shit. Nowadays, it's like, okay, I have smarter work ethic, but I don't have as much energy. Like, okay, the things I'm focusing on are better for me long term, but it's more so like the energy I put into it ain't the energy I had when I was 20. Like, I wish I could stuff my... Like, okay, 25-year-old me would not wake up at 2 in the morning to go to the gym. You know what I mean? That's just something I wouldn't do. I was way too concerned with partying and chasing women and just making money and trying to have as much fun. I had more energy, but I was less focused, right? 35-year-old me is a very laser-focused, dedicated individual. Like, I'm on the ball, and I'm at the point where I try to write down the things that need to get done. okay, I'm moving things around. Like, okay, I think Saturday for me is going to have to be, okay, get extra shit done that you can get done during the weekday. Meaning, like, get up in the morning, do a little bit of side hustling, wash clothes for the most part, right? And whatever it is, the task at hand that's on the list of things I need to do, that could be changing a tire. That could be, changing oil. That could be, hey, I need to call this person. I need to figure this out. Like, my head is in the game for real. And that's the thing I've always liked about being the age that I am now, being settled. Because, okay, let's say I went back to running the streets for real. The amount of energy as a guy you have to dedicate to that for that to work. Like, okay, like chasing women for a man is a craft. Like, it's something you gotta work at. It's something you gotta put time into. Like, okay, women don't have to holler at 10 guys to get two. Y'all are the prey. Y'all are the gazelles. Men are kind of the lions, right? Men kind of you have to constantly put yourself out there, constantly speak, constantly talk. Like, okay, I almost feel like sometimes when it comes to dating, women are in a privileged position because you don't really got to do too much outside of, like, be beautiful. And maybe that within itself is a job, but I'm saying, like, you just have to be attractive. That's the only thing you really have to do for the most part, far as, like, getting a man. You have to just be attractive and be a decent person. And you might be able to land a halfway decent nigga if you give your attention to the time to the right person for the most part, right? Now, I'll say this. Beauty is a depreciating asset. So, okay, for instance, right, you're at your hottest or you're at your physical peak when you're in your mid-20s, right? If you don't learn to become a good person or if you have to learn skills outside of looking good, if that makes sense, right? You can't, you probably could depending on what guy you talk to, but I don't recommend you being a 35, 36-year-old cunt bitch because it's like, at some point you're going to get old and you're not going to look the same as you used to, and then you're like a worse person. And it's like, men are not attracted to misery. Like, you up here causing all this chaos, breaking all these bad vibes and all this negative energy, and then you don't look good on top of it. Like, okay, a nigga will put up with a toxic motherfucker long as you fine. Like, if you look good, a dude will convince himself to deal with it. I don't think Oprah Winfrey can be toxic at the same time think she finna get the same shit that most motherfuckers get that look, that are like half her age, if that makes sense, right? You can't be an ugly, toxic motherfucker. Like, you gotta pick a struggle. You can't be both. That's like you can't be fat and ugly. You gotta pick one or the other. You can be big, but you better look good. Like, I'm just telling this to you from man brain. Like, a guy, even if you're a big girl, right? If you're attractive, some dudes will work it out. Some dudes will be like, you know what, this motherfucker look good, even though she, might be 270. You know what I mean? Looks is a woman's bread and butter. Nothing wrong with that, but I'm just saying, for the most part, right? Stay on top of your look. And I think most women do for the most part. I think women do understand that men are very visually vain for the most part. But I'm just saying, like, stay on top of your looks as a woman as you get older. Stay in the gym. Most girls, what y'all do a lot of times is y'all think y'all can keep eating the same shit that you did when you was in your early 20s, and it's not gonna go straight to your motherfucking thighs and make you blow up like a house, especially after y'all start having babies. And I guess the last one I'll add is patience, right? In my 20s, come on, I wasn't very patient. In a way I was patient, in a way I wasn't. I would say I was more naive, which made me more patient. So motherfuckers were able to fuck me over more because I didn't know as much, right? So in a way, I was more patient, in a way I wasn't. And if you flip it the same thing around to my 30s, it's kind of the same thing, but worse. Like, okay, I'm not patient with nobody's bullshit. You're not going to bullshit me, and you're not going to convince me that I don't know what I know. Like, I've been 30 for a while now, so, I'm in my mid-30s, so, shoot. I've been an adult for a hot little minute. So, when I tell you something that I have an issue with, or something's wrong, or I see something, or I tell you, or I give you some advice, that's me seeing what's actually happening in real time and commenting on it, right? As a man, sometimes, I wouldn't even say as a man, as a person that gives advice, right? The most exhausting thing about giving advice, because I've always given advice, right? It's just my advice has been different based on the years. But, like, the most exhausting thing about giving advice is giving advice to a motherfucker. One, they don't build on it. Two, they take it and fuck it up and then come back and need more. Or three, they talk to you about asking for the advice and then they just don't listen to it at all. So it's like, why call me asking for advice if you're not going to actually apply it? Like, I used to hate that when I was younger. Like, I'd be friends with girls and they'd call me, hey, I'm so upset. This bothers me. This is a problem. I hate how this guy's treating me. And I would tell them what to do, step by step, how to handle the problem. They'd call back 3-4 days later. Hey, so he's still being toxic and, and I'm like, well, listen, did you listen to me when I told you to leave him alone and stop fucking him? No, I went back and fucked him and, he's still being an asshole. And it's like, dog, you know what? Like for instance, I don't let motherfuckers that just want to waste my advice just call me for nothing. Like, you're not going to call me, ask what I think on something, ask what I should do, and think you finna keep doing it when I know you're not listening. The thing about me being older is I'm much less with the bullshit. When I was younger, I was a lot more naive and I was a lot more patient when it came to people and they fuckery. I'm not like that no more. You tell me, once I get a whiff that you on fuck shit, I move around from you. You can take that over there with that. I'm good. And I guess I had a bonus one, right? Because I'm in the mood to talk. This is what pre-workout do to me. Accountability. Now, when I was 20, I was accountable, but it was more so by force. Like, okay, I tell people all the time, I remember getting a speeding ticket, right? And I remember calling my dad. I was like, Dad, I got a speeding ticket, yada, yada, yada. He's like, boy, you got to pay that motherfucker, right? Because my dad knew, the older I get, the more I kind of respect what my dad was trying to tell me. Because my dad, like, as a man, when a younger man's doing young man shit, the best thing you can do for a young man is to let him wear his mistakes. Now, my mom, on the other hand, my mom was very loving and very kind. Now, it's good to have a parent that is compassionate, don't get me wrong, but there's also a good thing to have a parent that's a hard edge, like, no-nonsense parent. I think you need both. Okay, I think I have a good balance of parents. When I think of my parents, sometimes I'm very balanced in that area. Because my dad did not hesitate to teach me accountability. I remember being younger, like if I'm going to go younger, and I might have been like 15, and me and my mom was the same height, so I felt like I could take her. And really, I probably could have physically, but I remember my dad walked in the back door, and he seen me doing it, and he laid me smooth the fuck out. He decked me right across my jaw. I'll never forget it. He hit me so hard I saw stars. Right? And I'm like, low-key it was abuse when you think about it, but at the same time, when you live life as a man, you learn very early what accountability is. You don't get to duck it. Like, I think sometimes as a woman, I think y'all's biggest struggle is like, it's not so much that women can't be accountable. It's just the things that come with accountability make women feel bad, right? And because you make a motherfucker feel bad, 9 times out of 10, you don't get the message. And I think the best thing a lot of times a woman can do is to not take things that are said in criticism so personal. Like, okay, in my 30s, right? If I was to get criticized now for something that I did wrong, I would take that and build upon it, right? Because I know I'm not the only one that think, okay, my perspective is a perspective and not the perspective, right? Meaning, like, the way I look at things is just a point of view, right? That's why I tell motherfuckers send me videos, because it's like, the videos that I may make, the things I may think, may be just a view that I'm only I have, right? Or like if someone was to give me criticism on, like, let's say my YouTube channel, for example, you need to edit more, you need to get better lighting, I would take that and build upon it, right? In my 30s, I'm very in the headspace of being accountable, because I know with accountability as a man, or just in general, accountability, when you learn to take accountability for everything, you grow so much more as a person. You get way better. Like, it's just, okay, I think that's harder for women to do, because when y'all hear something that you don't necessarily like, because here's the thing. I heard somewhere that women respond to praise, meaning like, you can't help a motherfucker grow and praise them at the same time. You got to knock a motherfucker down a peg, right? And once you learn the lesson of like, okay, this motherfucker kicked me while I was down, but he kicked me while I was down in an improvement kind of way, right? If I tell you something that you don't like to hear, but I'm trying to help, like, I don't say that, like, if I'm not calling you a bitch or nothing like that, I don't mean it to be disrespectful. I mean it for you to build upon it. Like, if I say something to you that you may find uncomfortable to hear, right? It's for you to build upon and be better. You know what I mean? As a guy, that's a lesson you learn really early. Like, I'm telling you, in my early 20s, as much as I did not want to be accountable for shit, I couldn't sit there and just keep lying about it. Even when you lie about it as a guy, like, motherfuckers don't like, okay, you're not physically attractive enough to get away with your bullshit except to a motherfucker that's attracted to you. Like, for instance, right? A lot of girls get cheated on, right? Because a lot of guys, you know, when they're younger, they feel like it's okay to lie. And a lot of niggas in general feel like it's okay to lie, right? But because you attracted to this nigga, you had this thing where you want to believe it's bullshit. But I'm just saying that as far as like accountability, right? Women, learn to take a little bit of accountability. Like, okay, if it's your husband telling you or your boyfriend telling you, learn to take it in and don't take it personal. And I think that's the thing that screws women up with accountability, because y'all feel like because the motherfucker's talking about you, you take it as if like I'm not good enough. Like, it lands on you wrong. Like, and it's like I always try to make sure, I want to make sure my words land in it. Hey, build upon this kind of way. This is what's happening. This is part of where you need to go with it to be a better person, right? But that's something you gotta want for yourself. But anyway, right? That was the 20s versus the 30s. You know, I think it's a great concept, and I want to give credit to my girlfriend for coming up with it. Like, you know, I think it's one of my better videos. I like it so far. You know what I mean? So, you know, it's Thursday. We are almost to Friday. You know, I'm gonna go get me some breakfast and make the most of my day. You do the same.